I've been after one of these for years. Hello, welcome to another Mr. Beaterbite video, and this one's a little bit different insofar as we're looking at a Toshiba V33. This is the remote control version of the V31, otherwise they're identical machines. The 33 is distinguishable by, well, obviously the remote control window, but also it has this darker sort of brown plastic sort of around the controls and the cassette in, and also the door here, which is actually a little bit distorted. It does open, but apparently at some point in its life a fan heater got a bit close to it, or heater got a bit close to it and melted the door slightly. So might have a look at that in the fullness of time. Bought off eBay. Like I said, I've been looking for one of these for absolutely ages. I worked quite a lot back in the late 80s on V9600 Toshibas, but also some V31s. By the time the V31 came out, Betamax was already starting to sort of go out of favour. I don't believe the shop that rented these out to people even really did anything with the 33. I don't think they ever sold any or rented any. So yeah, didn't come with a remote control, and they are incredibly hard to find. I do have this remote, which is for a VHS, VC53. I believe it should be a VC33, but we'll check that out before the end of the video. If you do have one, let me know. Would be great. I suppose the next thing to do is just have a little bit of a walk around, and then we'll crack the top off and take a look. So it's only a basic machine. It's two head. Essentially uses the same head disc and head drum as the 31 and the 9600. Has a 14-day 8-program timer, which is set here. And also, I believe, the clock as well. And tracking control at the front here. And then you've got the line in and line out on the front, which is a bit odd. Nice to have the line in on the front, but line out can be a little bit of a pain if you're permanently connecting to a TV, which you would do these days via the line out, not via RF. Construction-wise, it's a pretty solid machine. It's quite slim. It's about the same depth as the VHS Toshiba machines of the time. Try saying that quick. Yeah, it is quite catty. But under here we've got tuning controls. It did actually have a for other markets, would have been a tool to adjust the bands, but being the UK, it's not needed, so it's not included. And you've got an AFT, AFC actuator there. So when you press that down, it helps lock the channel. It's 8 channels, which is still plenty for the UK. Terrestrial TV, which of course is no longer used. So yeah, quick walk around. Let's take the top off. Okay, so I've already taken the screws out and take the top drawer off first, otherwise you sort of struggle to get the top off, and the door then popping off. There we go. Difficult to do one-handed. And if you're used to 9600, this will be very familiar. It's essentially the same deck. This is with a different front loading system, much better design, you could argue. There is actually a cassette stuck in there. I don't know what's on it. Looks like it's got stuff recorded off the TV on it. Mains transformer, stop switch mode, power regulating transistor down there, and yeah, we've got the good old favourite here, the RIFA cap. So before I do anything, I'm going to take that out, and yeah, I might replace it or I might leave it for now. It depends if I've got the right value to replace it. So we've got RF modulator there, tuning on the top, and then underneath we've got servo there. I think that's signal, can't remember. And I'm pretty sure, yeah, there's a board underneath as well. So we'll take a look at that. It's going to need belts, I'm sure. Pinch roller doesn't look terrible, but it's seen some life. And obviously at the moment we're not too sure on the wear of the upper drum. There's obviously quite a bit of tape residue on the top there. This is the dew heater. So it's a resistor. If it detects dew, turns it on. I'm not sure it actually runs this all the time, but again, we'll see as we go along. So yeah, and no plug drag because it didn't come with a plug on it. So that's cool. So next thing I'm going to do is just take that power supply out. We'll remove that RIFA capacitor and see if we've got another one. Take it from there. Okay, so it looks like the whole of this panel, the only thing that actually holds it in is that one screw there, which holds down the heatsink assembly that's part of the board. So I'll undo that. I can't actually remember if I've got to take this off or whether there's enough play in the cable. I think there is enough play in the cable, just enough to lift it out. Would be nice if that's the case. I have to undo this. I will do that. And then just lift this out. Yeah, it's two clips, which I couldn't see. The lighting's not that good. I should do something about that. Yeah, it's two panel clips just holding it down. I've got a screw there. For a grounding wire. Now will it lift out? Yeah, so all of the connectors on the power supply are unique. Toshiba are fairly good with doing that, but not always. Just be a bit careful. Don't think they're like a Sony. All that now. Give me enough. Just to lift it. There we go. So yeah, there's two plastic tabs on the main plastic chassis. Just clip this in. And then you've got the screw on the other side. You see the two screws there holding on to the heatsink. So that's cool. These things can be very, very fragile. Those of you who know these decks are probably cringing when I was putting quite a bit of force on it and trying to get it out. But it sounded worse than it was. So yeah, so we've got the fuse there, 500 milliamp. Then we've got coils here, live and neutral, filtering. We've got the RIFA as well. So it's 0.1. And I have another, not a RIFA, but this is what you tend to find in other Japanese video recorders. But we'll just test that fuse, and I'm sure it'll be fine. But I don't actually know what's wrong with it. Oh, glad I did. Oh yeah, that's really gone pop. Ooh, that's a bit worrying. So this was dead. I'll have to look at the listing. Just check. Yeah, so that has actually... ooh, somebody's put some wire around it. Oh no, here we go. So this might be a very short video. If we've got a transformer fault, obviously we could have a power supply fault as well. Sorting out the secondary side. I don't need that. I'm intrigued actually just to measure, see what this regulator's like. See if that's short. Seems alright. Okay, I'll just dig out a fuse. Okay, so new time lag 500 milliamp fuse. So I'm just going to check now that we haven't got a short straight across the mains. I'm expecting low ohms, but yeah, so we're measuring 34 ohms, which is what I'd expect with the transformer straight across it, so that's okay. I suppose all we can really do is put it back together and see what happens. Yeah, so put a plug in it, plug it in, see what happens. Okay, so here it goes. You can see the fuse at the bottom there. Yeah, let's plug it in. Yeah, we have lights on. Can't turn it on. Why do I have a bad feeling? This was sent by Hermes, and I just wonder if maybe it's got a broken board. It's had a whack. Yeah, so we might have to take the front off and just check what's going on. I suppose we can try the remote control. Okay, so batteries in there. That's not doing anything either. Might not mean anything either because I don't know if the IR control set is different. It could well be. This might not even work. I've never tested this. I've not even tried. Well, let's have a look. You can see. There we go. Yeah, so it is working. Or if there's a fault with the machine, I don't know. There's too many variables really to confidently say, but I just thought I'd give it a try. Okay, so I think the next thing I'll do is I'll take this front panel off and we'll have a look to see if there's any damage or anything amiss. Obviously someone has been in here fiddling about, but yeah, let's see what I can do. Let's get the front panel off, and I'm also going to take the opportunity to remove the bottom panel as well, because if we get that far and it isn't totally wrecked, it will need new belts. I have a feeling the tape might drop. I don't know whether this actually, I think this just comes off. Oh, we'll see. So all different screws. So we've got self-tappers, a large head here and here. Then we've got machine screw with a large head. This looks like another self-tapper. Which it is. Another self-tapper there. Yeah, okay. Let's pull this forward a bit. This should just unclip. So, yeah, we've got a broken stop button. And we also have goo. We have goo going on. Okay. So the lacing belt looks okay, but it's always a capstan belt. So yeah, I might just spend a few minutes just getting the remnants of that out before I do anything more, because it's just going to get everywhere and it's really not nice. So the worst of it's off the deck, so at least I'm not going to spread sort of dissolved rubber everywhere, but you can see I've got all of that to deal with. This is not great. And look at that. It's just so typical Toshiba kit. And it's always, like I say, it's always a capstan belt. So, yeah, cool. Huh, great. Okay, so I'm just going to power this on. And oh, there we go. Oh, that took its time. I can't see any damage on the boards, which is great, I suppose. I wonder if there is actually anything across there. I should have some voltage. Yeah. Is that grounded? Yes, okay. Well, I've got nothing there. I've got no 5 volts. Everything plugged in. Yeah. Time to dig into the manual. Very handy to have this. I do have the schematic, so I suppose we need to do some checks. Okay, so now we're investigating any missing voltages, and it does make sense before you do anything else, just to check. There's 2 other fuses. I thought there was a third actually, but it's 2 that I can see. Yeah, so it does look like 2, and then you've got the mains fuse on the primary side. So this first fuse, I don't really want to squash the cassette tape. Can help it. So this is a 2 amp fuse. So we've got dead short there, that's good. And then we've got this one, which I can't actually read. Yeah, that's open circuit. What actually is that? Looks like a 2 amp as well. Yeah, it is 2 amp. So I would expect there to be no short on either side. Yeah, overload. So I think that's where it's coming through after being rectified and smoothed. And then the secondary side So yeah, that's gone pop. So yeah, I need to lift this board back out and check the fuse. So there it is. You see it has well and truly broken, but it's not a violent break. So fairly, there's some, yeah, you can see where it's melted onto the glass. So it's got pretty hot at some points. I think I'd quite like to see what that actually does, and we'll stick another one in and see what happens. Okay, so new fuse is in. A little bit of a fiddle without putting the wires too much, but it's fine. Also changed that one for what it's worth, just so it's a new sort of unstressed fuse. So let's see what that actually does. Okay, so this is a fuse that popped. It is actually on the AC side, makes sense that it would be actually. So it's fusing the AC in from the mains transformer, got a bridge rectifier, a couple of capacitors. So yeah, that's popped. Maybe issues with these caps, maybe. There's a regulator down here. Yeah, I'd say it's all coming from here. So this is probably going to be more for logic level voltages. 14 volts, heater 22 volts. Where's that coming from? I'm guessing that's straight off. Heater. Yeah, so that's for the drum heater. Motor ever 65, so I'm guessing that's for the clock, the VFD. 65 ever, yeah. So this 9 volts, obviously, once it's rectified, would be higher. Let's follow it round. It's not making a lot of sense to me. 6.6, 6.5 volts. Ah, right, okay, so that's 6.5 volts. So that probably is for logic level. And that's pretty much all it's doing, is logic level. 6.5 volts. So it could be this regulator's bad. So TA78005AP. So I might just check there's no shorts basically. But past that, I'm willing to just power it up and see what happens, see if the fuse pops again. So yeah, let's just check that transistor first, the regulator even. Okay, so IC811 is the one actually at the base of the heatsink L-shaped assembly. So 1, 2, 3. Just going to see if there's any shorts. Yeah, no shorts. Past really powering it up, or putting some power across it, there's not a lot I can do to test that, so I'm happy it's not dead short. So yeah, let's power it up. Okay, so just going to power it up now. Keep an eye on that fuse. Okay, so indeed the fuse has blown again, and just checking it through again, obviously wasn't getting very good contact with my leads, but I've got a dead short straight across this this rail. So immediately thought, well, let's check the regulator. So I've just desoldered, is in the desoldering iron, disconnecting these two leads. So and checking round, and the regulator is actually testing fine, but I do have a dead short straight across here. So really, all it can be is probably one of these caps. So I'll whip those out and we'll take a look. So both caps are out, 2200 at 16 volts and 1000 at 16 volts. They're literally in parallel with each other, so it's sort of going to sort of 3300. I mean, it would be 3200. So obviously a bit of a cost-cutting exercise maybe, but if I just go straight across this 2200 microfarad cap, there's our short. The other one tests fine. So it's just charging. So yeah, my feeling is just to put a 3300 in, but I'll see what I've got. So let's have two 3300 25 volt caps. It's actually pretty much the same physical size as well. It's identical. So yeah, that will do the job nicely. So I'll pop that in and not put 1000 in as well, and I suppose give it a try. Okay, so let's just double check as well. So no short, you can see the cap charging there. Super, so I'm happy with that, and hopefully we should be somewhere near good to go. One thing, you might have noticed that there was a mark on the front. I don't know whether you can still see it. But there's a mark in between the, just about make it out, between the front clear plastic and the filter. And to get the filter out, so you can clean that up and just clean the whole lot up, there are actually two tabs here and here, which is the edge of this folded over to hold this in place, and you can actually lift this up to sort of put it out. So it is possible to do, I think, but yeah, let's give it a go. Okay, so I actually missed to press record for how I actually got around cleaning the back of the plastic. And how I ended up doing it was with the front panel off. If you just press and lift this at the same time, this front plastic will actually pop off, and then you can clean and do everything you need to do. You don't need to pull out that filter plastic section at all. Just leave it. Don't touch it. It's really not the way to go. So yeah, just pop this out, clean this up, clean the back of the filter as well, both sides of course, and then push it back in. It's you need quite a bit of pressure to press it in. Basically it comes out from the top and pulls down, so you've got small lugs at the top, large lugs that locate one truly into this plastic assembly here. And yeah, and you also might notice that this looks a heck of a lot better than it did when we first looked at the machine, and that's thanks to Brasso. Mixed results with this stuff, but on this type of plastic it's perfect. Just put a bit off and then rub it round. Try not to scrub, but just literally just rub all the way around, swirling it around. Don't press too hard. You don't want to sort of really score it, but it will take out all of the scratches. Takes a bit of time, but yeah, do that. Use a cloth, wipe it over, and then I've used some silicone-based polish just to get it right up, and yeah, it looks really nice. So let's crack on. So fix the stop button. What I've done is I've used some of this solid copper. It's one strand. Heated the copper up with the iron, and then just sort of pushed it through the plastic. And by doing that, you're able to manipulate it quite easily. Just warm the plastic up to get the actual button in the right position. So I've come down from the top there, through here, just sort of warmed it up and pressed it in, and it's gone in quite nicely. And then brought it round, back up here, through here, and then I'll probably chop that bit off, to be fair, but it's not in the way there. But yeah, it's not perfect. Well, actually, it is pretty perfect. That's moving absolutely fine, and it should be okay. There's very little movement on these. You can see where I caught. Unfortunately, I caught here with the iron. Just a glancing blow. It doesn't take much to melt this plastic, that's for sure. But yeah, that's done. Okay, so here goes nothing. It always takes a while just to get going. Yay! And that was from the remote as well. Yeah, that's not surprising. I was just hoping it might have enough torque to be able to pull the tape back into the cassette, because I need to change the belts. Dear. Well, there's a little bit of torque there. I suppose all we can really do is just go for it. Where's eject? There's eject. Well, we've got the cassette out. Okay, so the next thing's the belts. Wow, I'm actually really pleased. Fantastic. And pull this out. I don't know whether you'll be able to see much. Yeah, there's no wash on the top, so it's either been removed in the past, or maybe you never had one, but I find that a little bit hard to believe. So let's continue to pull this out. So there we have it in all its gooey glory. There's a little spacer there, you don't want to lose that. But now I've got the fun task of actually cleaning this up. So I'll get and do that, and yeah, we'll take it from there. Okay, so it's all nice and clean. There's a little bit of staining on there. I did try and give it a bit of a clean off, but it's fine. So, just saw that drop off. That needs to go on. And we'll pop this back in where it should go. So, like I say, I do really think there should be a dust trap washer, plastic washer over there, but there isn't, so, well, there we go. So it's all in place. So the next thing to do now is find the belt kit and then change the belts. Belt kit ready. This is from Star Electronics in Australia. So I've actually got so many belt kits from them I hadn't actually realised. So if you are after belts, a V9600 or 31 or 33, I think the only thing with the 31 and the 33 is that the front loading system belt I think is different, but we'll see. We'll see as we go along. but let me know, and we can come to some sort of arrangement and get them posted over to you. I've probably got at least 3 sets that I won't need. I've got a lot of sets. I just got carried away. So that's on. It seems a little bit distorted being in the wrapper, but that should hopefully sort itself out once it's had a good run. That's my hope anyway. So let's get that bracket put back on. Right, so next is the lacing belt. Okay, so here goes. This is not easy to do using this method. I'm sure there is an easier way to do it, or the proper way to do it. It's probably to take the assembly off. Yeah, that belt is not happy. I say it's not happy. It actually feels pretty good. But anyway, it's a bit misshapen. So let's see if we can get this on. And the main problem with it is there's a bit of metal in the way. Hang on one second, I've got an idea. So I've turned the deck over, so I've got gravity on my side. And I wonder if, rather than using something that might damage the belt, the screwdriver might be too big, but we'll give it a go. Huh. Well, that actually went really well. Yeah, so I sort of got the belt over and then pushed down, pushed the other bit over, and that's done it. Magic. So, next thing is the idler. The idler, the counter belt, and the front loading system belt. So let's crack on with that. Okay, so remove the connector, and then there's a grounding strap there as well. Oh, got another connector, of course, got the connector on the motor. There we go. Perfect. So, idler is well and truly just, it's so shiny. And of course they go on to, I mean, they do have friction surfaces, or the take-up has, and that's on a clutch. So the wind is good, but the rewind is still a bit, not great. But yeah, let's change the belt first somewhere. Okay, so let's try and get this off. It does actually feel as if it might already have a lug broken off it. there is actually, I believe, a special tool for doing this. I don't know what I'd do if I broke one. Oh, there we go. I might find out. Yeah, no, it is actually perfectly okay. What needs to happen is basically you press something in there and push the tabs out. It's 3 tabs, minus the dust that's in there, and it should just lift off. But I don't really have anything like that. I'm sure in a previous video when I worked on a 9600, we did actually find a clever way of doing it, but oh, hold on. Don't lose these washers, because they adjust the ride height. Gosh, that belt is really bad. They adjust the ride height of the spool, just like in Sanyo's. So that belt is right on the brink of just failing, though it still has its elasticity. Okay, so I just cracked open my Chinese sort of multi-belt kit, or had a look through, rather. And I do have a belt. I'm not too worried about using one from there, because at the end of the day, if it fails, I just lose the counter, and it's non-critical, shouldn't have any effect on anything else in the machine. I actually size that pretty well. Super. So turn our attentions to the idler, clean off the excess residue. It'll need a little bit of grease. So just want to think of it, the drum actually looks pretty good. It's fairly low hours. I mean, you can see, actually on the camera, you can see more than you can visually when you look at it. But yeah, it's actually fairly low hours. And again, I suppose it's towards the end of beta being a thing. So just trying to get the circlip off. And not lose it. Oh, nearly. So there's the clutch and the washer. Oh, I just found the washer. Put that with the circlip. So there's a little washer that goes in between. Absolutely grubby. Giving that a bit of a clean. The clutch actually feels okay. It's fairly grubby. If I manage to find a clutch, I'm able to change that. Yeah, I mean it looks pretty good, to be fair. So happy with that. Then we've got the fun of taking this off, and everything's springing back and potentially dislocating itself. Just try and give everything a clean without getting any grease on the motor. Super. So, the idler tyre should just pull off. Oh gosh, this tyre is bad. Yeah, you can see where it's been sat for years. It's actually got the indentation of the motor. Motor's shaft. And I have had slight problems with these before. They've been a little bit too big. But we shall see. This one's in a genuine kit, or did I say genuine kit? A kit from the day. Still incredibly grubby. It's looking pretty good. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little bit of grease all around here. I'm going to actually use silicone grease, but it's like more solid stuff. And yeah, then we'll put it all back together. Okay, so I've given it a grease. You can't really see it because it's clear, but it is all done. So let's make sure I haven't got any on my fingers. Idler back on. And that seems to be driving fine. Good torque. Then we need the little washer. You can sort of get away with, if you lose that washer, you can get away with it, but honestly, you do need it, to be fair. It will not run quite as nicely without it. I've tended to find anyway. And then the fun bit of trying to get... That's actually stuck. Do the big screwdriver. There we go. So that's done. Counter is done. I've actually put a little bit of grease on this, so just going to feed that down. It does actually feel so much better for doing that. A tiny smear of grease on there. I've also put just a tiny amount of liquid silicone lubricant in the sort of, if you like, logic mechanism. There's a mode switch under there. These usually are dry, or pretty dry, so we'll see if that's a good idea. Hopefully it will be. That's located, and then on with the clip, gentle press, and that's locked. Super. Okay, so the next thing is the front loading mechanism, and just changing the belt on that. Okay, so slight change of plan. That, by the way, is called the loading cam assembly or unit. So yeah, that's what that is. But I'm just going to have a look at this pinch roller. I'm just gently pulling up. On top assembly, and it's quite worn. Just wonder if I do have another one. I'll just check my stash. Well, no luck. It actually has a really small center shaft hole, and none of these are suitable at all, even if they sort of are the right diameter or whatever and height. none of them have that smaller shaft bearing. So I'm going to have to give this a jolly good clean, and I'll probably rubber renew it, to be honest, as well. So yeah, do that next. Well, it doesn't look much better, but it feels a heck of a lot better. Just take off that. So much tape residue everywhere. Okay, so pop that back on. You can see the bearings are really good. So that's bonus. And just going to push this on, holding the bottom portion so I don't strain it too much. Lovely. And the bearings are good, so I don't see any real problem with doing that, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. So, front loading system. So one thing I will say, the Toshiba front loading systems are actually really, they just seem so much more robust than the Sony ones. And also not too bad to do. Note there is a washer there. There's the belt, and the belt is the same as the 9600. Fantastic. So let's pop that back in. Oh, popped out the other end and lost the washer. Not the end of the world though. And let's get the screw back in, single screw. It's one thing I do sort of like about Toshiba decks is they're a bit more like Meccano. And that's useful. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll just put some more of that silicone grease on each side, the other side. To be fair, there was very little grease on it, but I'll just clean it up and put some grease on and get it mounted back in. Okay, so let's pop the front loading system back in. Okay, so sort of all that together. Haven't put the bottom cover on and nor the top cover, because I suspect there will be other things to do. But let's power it up, put a cassette in, and yeah, just see how we go. So set the clock. It's actually Friday. Yeah, that isn't actually the time, but just to set it. Clean out the dust out there. I've not done anything with this door yet, but I do have ideas of how to sort of warp it back into shape. Greaseproof paper and a heat gun, just gently to mould this back, maybe a playing card or something to mould it back. Yeah, so it is on. Good start. Big set. that doesn't seem to be driving very well. Although, to be fair, stop button's good. So it's playing fine. Torque is fairly good. You can see the torque, or the cassette, the tape tension detector is moving about a little bit, which I'd expect. One thing I do like about these is they do have the static drain, and I'm hoping to do a video on static drains for like Sony machines, which is something that a channel viewer and supporter has mentioned actually, and it's caused quite a lot of interesting chat, so keep an eye out for that. But yeah, do just wonder what's going on. With the wind. These don't error, so you can leave them in wind forevermore and they'll just keep trying to wind. They won't cut out, not like Sony's, which in some ways is good. Okay, so I do have a couple of issues that I need to sort out before I'm really happy with this machine. The first one is the tracking control is sort of floating about. I think it's sort of the plastic cog for the actual tracking wheel has sort of risen up and it's sort of floating about a bit, and it feels sometimes as if it's actually off the top of the potentiometer. So we'll have a look at that. I'll drop the panel on the bottom as well, because we haven't had a look at that. And the other thing is just power it on. I just have so little torque. I mean, it's just terrible. So I want to take this all apart again. We'll move the front loading system out of the way, load a cassette into it, and then we'll see what's going on with that idler. I might have a fix as well, but yeah, we'll see. We'll just play it by ear. So first of all, I'm gonna well, let's eject the cassette so you can see what's happening. See, it's just, well, it has actually managed to pull the tape in, so it's not terrible, but I still think we need to look at that. So that's something anyway. Yeah, so once we've done all that, we'll hook it up and we'll have a look at the picture. Okay, so taking the front panel off, which I don't know whether you necessarily need to do. I think you do to get to the tracking volume, as it says on the panel here. Tracking volume. I think that's great. But let's lift the panel. It looks like it's just 2 or maybe 3. Those, no, they don't. So it's 3 screws by the looks, and then the panel just slides out, or hinges up, I think. I can't remember. I think it slides back. And then hinges up. And it's sort of creaking. This has never been opened before. Creaking as it opens. And yeah, you can see the tracking controls has fallen off, to be honest. And now it's fallen off, it's sort of back to front as well. So it's been spinning around on there. So yeah, I'm going to give this a dust out. It's not too bad. What was a socketed chip there? Interesting. Too. Very interesting. Yeah, we'll put that tracking control back on, give it a bit of a clean as well, and we should be good to go. Okay, so that's sorted. I've cleaned all of the ins and outs as well. Actually took that off. I haven't bothered putting any deoxit in the switched inputs. I think they'll probably be okay, but it's easy enough to do when it's all back together. And credit to Toshiba here, they actually put a metal strap to really increase the rigidity of the sockets, which is not a bad idea. I mean, I suppose I could have put better quality sockets or a block or something, I don't know. Tracking control, it's a bit of a funny one. It's got some scrape marks on the top of it. Quite what that's from. It's obviously sort of been fouling the front panel or something. But it's not keyed. You know, the potentiometer doesn't have like a lined cutout, like that you just push the knob on and you know it's right. So you've got to sort of work out, put it sort of in the center click position and then push this on. So the mark is as close as possible to sort of the center click, facing out the front. So yeah, but it's not perfect, but it's pretty well cleaned. It's all dusted out, which is the important thing, I suppose. So yeah, let's get it put back together, and hopefully we can move on to the real issues, which are a bit of a strange one. There we go, that's back in place. Yeah, so I'll just pop the screws in and turn it over and have a look. So I've already removed the screws, so it's loose. But unlike the 9600, this has the one connector on the one side of the loading mechanism. This actually has two. So you've got this other connector here, but Toshiba, bless them, have actually given enough cable to enable you to do the same old trick of having it mounted to the side or out the way, so you can, let's move that, so you can have the front loading system still operational while, bit of a stretch, operational while having access to the deck itself. So what I'll do is I'll get some insulation just so I can prop this up without shorting anything out, and we'll just see what's going on with all of this this idler mechanism. One thing that does spring to mind is I have had these springs sort of go a bit weak, but I don't know. We shall see. Okay, so powering on, and let's wait for it to wake up. I don't know whether this has the ability to come out of standby if you push a cassette in. I don't think it has, but no. So you have to power it on. Oh, wrong button. And there we go. And then see how bad this actually is. So it's driving, just not really very well. What's rewind like? And rewind's going to be even worse, I'm sure, because although it's not terrible torque, It does seem to be improving. I just wonder if... I mean, that's dry. So I think maybe I need to just lift this spool. There's a back tension band, which actually looks okay. There's still so much muck in this machine. It's just tape residue everywhere. So I'm going to use just a tiny amount of the firmer silicone grease. Let's put some under there. There we go. And move that assembly just so that tension band can sit where it needs to. I mean, it is quite grubby. I've not really given it a thorough clean, so I just wonder if I try that first. To be honest, I don't know. The other one I did quite thoroughly clean, but it just doesn't seem to be the torque. Yeah. Anyway, I'll do that, and we'll try again. Okay, so I've cleaned both of the friction areas on both spools. I've actually used Rubber Renew, and it really did take off a lot of rubbish. I've also done it on the motor pulley as well. There's a tiny bit on the idler, but that's fine. So let's try again. And I expect that to take a second to get going. It does seem to have improved things. Yeah, it seems to be, yeah, it's getting better all the time. Okay, let's try rewind. Yeah, that is improving. Oh wow, it's actually I'm actually struggling to keep that from not spinning now. So it is just literally just a clean that needed. Well, okay, let's eject it. And put it back together and see what it's like. Okay, so here goes. Power on. Well, it's still not brilliant. But it's getting there. There we go, it's starting to work. This is right at the, oh yeah, it's spinning quite well. It is right at the end of the cassette. So, yeah, that's getting some decent torque now. I think with use, I think it'll improve. I mean, other things that can cause this to labour is shiny upper drum, but this upper drum is actually fine. So, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, as long as it's not chewing up tapes when it ejects. Nah, it's not looking so great, is it? Okay, so I suppose the next thing to do is give it a try. Okay, so I think we're about there. Wind and rewind is a lot better now, so that's something. I've also given the tape path another good clean, or proper clean, and the heads as well, just to make sure. So, fast forward, rewind, it's right at the beginning of the cassette, but it's absolutely fine. So to fix the wind and rewind, it was sort of a combination of several factors. It was the cleaning the reels. Everything I'd done with the idler was absolutely correct. That was fine. I didn't have to touch any of that. So it's literally cleaning the reels, then the tape path clean. I'd also missed to clean the back tension arm, which is a real oversight of mine, because obviously if that's dirty, that's putting quite a lot of extra torque, pressure on the tape as it goes through its movement. So yeah. So what I'll do now, I'll press play, and yeah, what I'll do is I'll do a picture-in-picture of what's actually going on. So that's tracking center, tracking furthest left. There's a little bit of a noise coming in there, and tracking furthest right. A little bit of noise there. It's really very, very good. The heads seem excellent. Pause, don't expect anything great, but you do have the still advance. So just pressing the play button with it in pause, or advance the frames forward. What will be interesting is trying cue and review. I expect these to not work very well, but we'll see. That's not bad. It's bouncing about a tiny bit. Oh, actually it's not. It's fine. Back. Lovely. I mean, honestly, what a great machine. I know these machines aren't popular, but I have such a soft spot for these machines, and I'm so glad I've got the V33. Finally, I've actually got to see one, and I own one. I'm going to keep this machine now, and this will be my standby Betamax, or I'll use it just for standard recordings to archive, because the quality is really very, very good. And I will say Toshiba did sort out a lot of issues from the 9600 with the quality of picture. 9600s, they are good, especially when they're set up correctly, but I just think the V31 and the V33 were just that bit sweeter, just that bit better, that bit more refined. But of course, I think Toshiba had already got the reputation for maybe not making the greatest kit. Definitely the Betamaxes, they're just held in such low regard, which I think is a shame, because it's a great machine. You know, it's, yeah, anyway, sales pitch over. So, yeah, there we have it. All I've got to really do now is just put the covers back on, bottom panel and the top panel, top cover. I'll give both a clean, and that's it. Obviously, it's been through the walls a little bit, a bit of a crack on the side here, which I'm just going to leave. I did have a go at straightening this door out. it's better, but it shrunk. When I did it, it shrunk, and it sort of, yeah, it still doesn't fit very well when you close it, but that's fine. If you do have a door, a decent door from a V31 or 33, 31 would be fine. I know they're silver, but it wouldn't look too bad, wouldn't look too out of place, especially with silver on this side. Let me know in the comments, or drop me a line, drop me an email, and yeah, I would gladly sort something out to have that, just to make this machine just that bit sweeter again. But yeah, so with that, thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe. Got loads more sort of fun stuff to look at, and yeah, it's really hectic at the moment with everything, so yeah, enjoy. So yes, bye for now.